Your inputs become your state. Most people think of inputs as isolated events. A video is just a video. A notification is just a notification. A conversation is just a conversation. A drink is just a drink. A room is just a room. But the system does not experience inputs as isolated events only. It experiences them as signals. An input enters the system reads it, the system responds to it, the system adjusts around it. Some inputs are brief, some are repeated, some are intense, some are subtle, some pass quickly, some leave residue. This is the beginning of the concept. Inputs are not merely consumed. They participate in state formation. An input is anything that enters the system and changes what the system has to process. Sound is an input. Light is an input. Information is an input. Food is an input. Caffeine is an input. Conversation is an input. A room is an input. A notification is an input. A label is an input. A screen is an input. A task demand is an input. This does not mean every input is harmful. It also does not mean every input is beneficial. The point is not moral. The point is mechanistic. Inputs carry signals. The system does not only ask, "What is this?" It also asks, "What does this require from me?" Does this input require orientation? Does it require response? Does it create urgency? Does it invite scanning? Does it support steadiness? Does it increase activation? Does it help the system transition? Does it leave the system more fragmented or more organized? This is why inputs matter in state engineering. Inputs help shape readiness, and readiness influences state. A single input may create a temporary reaction. Repeated inputs train readiness. Fast inputs train the system to move quickly. Urgent inputs train the system to prepare for urgency. Fragmented inputs train the system to sample, scan, and switch. High stimulation inputs train the system to expect intensity. Stable inputs can support continuity. Meaningful inputs can support care. Designed inputs can support state transition. The system adapts to what repeatedly enters it. This is not a criticism of modern life. It is not an argument against screens, media, food, communication, or stimulation. It is an observation about biological learning. The system becomes prepared for the kinds of signals it repeatedly receives. If most inputs are rapid, the system becomes more available for speed. If most inputs are urgent, the system becomes more available for urgency. If most inputs are fragmented, the system becomes more available for switching. If most inputs are stable, the system has more opportunity to rehearse continuity. This is the training effect of input. Inputs do not simply appear and disappear. They teach the system what kind of world it is in. Modern stimulation is not only costly because it takes time, it is costly because it can leave residue. The screen closes, but the state may remain altered. The conversation ends, but the mood may remain. The notification disappears, but the readiness to be interrupted may persist. The video stops, but the pace of internal attention may stay elevated. The drink is finished, but the activation curve may continue. An input can end before its effect ends. This residue matters because state is not reset automatically when the input disappears. The system may continue carrying the activation, mood, expectation, or readiness produced by the input. This helps explain why a person may step away from stimulation and still feel scattered. The external input has ended, but the internal configuration has not yet returned. Information is not neutral once it enters the system. A headline can create concern. A message can create anticipation. A conflict can create tension. A comparison can create dissatisfaction. A meaningful conversation can create steadiness. A clear instruction can reduce uncertainty. A chaotic input stream can create internal noise. The point is not that one input determines everything. The point is accumulation. Emotion is often the immediate signal. Mood is the lingering residue. A single input may create a short emotional response. Repeated emotional inputs may accumulate into mood. Mood then becomes part of the background condition from which state emerges. This preserves the hierarchy: emotion, mood, state, attention, behavior. The person may not notice the transition. They may only notice that attention feels different. They may sit down to work and feel scattered. They may enter a conversation and feel defensive. They may begin a task and feel urgency. They may try to focus and feel internally noisy. But the state did not appear from nowhere. It may have been shaped by prior inputs. This is why state engineering asks a different question. Not only, what am I trying to do? But also, what has been entering my system before I try to do it? Mood is not the same as state. Emotion is short-term signal. Mood is lingering residue. State is system configuration as experienced. Mood influences state because it colors the background condition of the system. Inputs shape mood. Mood influences state. State organizes attention. Attention guides behavior. This is the causal chain. Environment, inputs, mood, state, attention, behavior. This chain matters because it prevents misinterpretation. A person may think they are failing at behavior when the system has already been shaped upstream. They may try to force focus from a state that has been trained toward fragmentation. They may try to produce calm from inputs that have repeatedly cued urgency. They may try to sustain attention after a sequence of signals that trained rapid switching. The behavior is visible, but the input history is underneath it. Attention does not emerge from a neutral baseline. Attention emerges from state. A scattered state produces scattered attention. A tense state produces vigilant attention. A restless state produces searching attention. A stable state makes sustained attention more available. This is why inputs matter. If inputs shape mood and mood influences state, then inputs indirectly shape attention. A person may believe their attention is weak, but attention may simply be reflecting the state produced by prior inputs. This is not an excuse. It is a more accurate model. The question is not only, how do I pay attention? The question is also, what state is my attention emerging from? And before that, what inputs helped create that state? This is the state engineering frame. If inputs shape state, then design matters. A designed input is not simply something consumed. It is something that enters the system with intention. It may enter through object presence, language, sensory signal, timing, texture, rhythm, temperature, or environment. A designed input does not promise to control state. It supports conditions that make a state transition more accessible. This matters for EL1X1R. EL1X1R. Focus should not be understood as another stimulant product. It should be understood as a designed state support input. It enters through more than ingredients. It enters through object presence, label language, bottle feel, temperature, carbonation, flavor, sipping rhythm, environmental signaling, ritual use. These are not decorative details. They're part of the input ecology. The purpose is not to force focus. The purpose is to support a transition toward architectural focus. The product does not replace regulation. It does not replace recovery. It does not override state. It participates in the conditions from which focus becomes more accessible. This protects the category. EL1X1R is not an energy drink. It is a state engineering interface. Most people ask, is this good or bad for me? That question may be useful sometimes, but it can become too moral. The better state engineering question is, what state does this input help create? Does this input train urgency? Does it train scanning? Does it train switching? Does it support steadiness? Does it help transition? Does it leave residue? Does it restore coherence? Does it make the next behavior easier or harder to organize? This is not about eliminating inputs. It is about understanding input ecology. A modern person cannot live without inputs, nor should they try. The question is not how to avoid the world. The question is how to understand what repeatedly enters the system. Because what repeatedly enters the system helps shape the state from which a person thinks, feels, focuses, and acts. Your inputs do not simply pass through you. They shape mood. Mood shapes state. State shapes attention. Attention shapes behavior. To engineer state, we must understand what repeatedly enters the system. Your inputs become your state.